Yeah, well, now we're back from a little costume change. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it at all. Let's get to the next section of game changers, which would be multicolor. Starting with these ones are interesting because there's only four of them. I can kind of think of a couple others that should be there, but it's going to be. Let's just get into it. So Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. Obviously it this one is a good game changer to be on there. It just doubles all your mana producing like non-land mana producers, and then is one of the best mana sinks in the game. um this one I've run in both as a commander for CEDH and in the 100 for my Sisay deck. I think this is a slam dunk include anytime that it's resolved and you can just suddenly crank out anything. It's kind of absurd. You guys have you come across Kinnan in your commander travels before? Is this one that was on your radar?
I've seen this in more casual settings. I shouldn't even use the word casual, but not necessarily CEDH, but just regular Commander. And the card's always incredible, especially because it doesn't have to untap. It hits the board, you get the immediate benefit. And then, as you mentioned, it's kind of just a game winning threat all in its own. It also gives you access to two strong colors in Commander. So it does make sense that this would be a game changer to at least kind of hamper decks a little bit, and it keeps it out of bracket 1 and 2 just by being on this list. But do you have any experience with it, John?
I've not experienced it in Commander. I've played it a bunch myself in Pioneer and Historic, and probably a little in Modern. But uh, it makes your mana that you cheat, not your land mana, your cheat mana, even more cheaty, and is puts Emrakul's into play. It's hard to imagine that that's okay.
And if you have more than one mana dork out, it pays for itself. Like there's
Yeah.
no cost to cast it. It's kind of insane. Um, Next up is a really common uh, commander, I believe, from CEDH, Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. Um, I'm totally not Googling Yuriko to make sure it's the one that I think it is.
Commander Ninjutsu.
Yes.
Though they are
So
making another Commander Ninjutsu in Final Fantasy, so probably going to be added to this list, I would guess.
this card is a common CEDH commander. I've played against it a whole bunch. It gets around, like it's loss of life, so it gets around a lot of things. And it's just card advantage with an added crazy benefit. You can also abuse come into play effects with it. You can just throw a couple of shapeshifters in there and really just do some freaking work. Um, so with this particular one, the payoff of things like Brainstorm, the payoff of things like Jace, anything that lets you put cards on top of your library, all the tutors that we've seen, well, in this instance, Mystic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor, it's just absolutely absurd. So not only do you get to draw your big fatty Arbuckle threat, but you also get to zap your opponents for however much damage it deals, and it's just in blue and black, so very controlly, very difficult to deal with, and is capable of. It's in colors that are it's capable of stopping pretty much anything. Um, yeah, those are my thoughts. This is again, this whole list is really good, but this is definitely a slam dunk inclusion on it, um, in my opinion.
Actually, another important thing to note about Yuriko is that the Commander Ninjutsu avoids the Commander tax. It's a way that you can always put it into play for 2 mana, no matter how many times you've put it into play from the command zone. So that whole rule in general, I mean, as John had mentioned, they're printing another one, but I think that this card probably just shouldn't exist in Commander at all. So this is a good kind of middle ground where you're still allowed to play it. It's in super strong colors. It's very cheap. You can't make it cost more. It's just really hard to interact with. It's an activated ability. It doesn't use the stack. But what do you think, John?
Yeah, like you said, anything that gets by the Commander, like costs you know, not reduction, increment. That couldn't think of the word. Anything that gets around that is just kind of unfair, and then Yuriko just kind of snowballs. It's like enter the battlefield, hit immediately, draw a bunch of cards, hit you for a bunch. Then if you kill it, you just like have more gas to do it again next turn for even more, whether you kill it or not. And it's I've only played against it a couple times, and it's been amazing. I will say I used to play with Erratic Explosion Draco back in the day, and that was a lot of fun. But those were like bad cards that you had to put in your deck to get payoff. This is a good card that you want to pay, and also just happens to do that same thing way better.
Yep.
So,
and again, getting around counter spells is pretty huge. It's one of the only commanders that like reliably enters the battlefield. Okay, so that was Yuriko. Next up is another CEDH commander staple, Winota, Joiner of Forces. I mean, like, there's so many different ways of playing it. The one that I've seen the most of is Super Stacks Winota. So cards like Dranith Magistrate and Grand Arbiter and just all of these hate bears that exist out there. It suddenly just puts them into play. The fact that you can get multiple Winona triggers off of the same combat is absurd. And it's just yet another way of cheating whole bunches of creatures into your game. It's just really, really solid. This was one of like the OG CEDH commanders back when people first started really going for it, and it's one of the only ones that stood up to the test of time. Like Arcandaxum's not on this list, but Winona is. And I think there's a lot of very, very, very good reasons that it is. Did you guys ever experience just getting Winona in the face and suddenly having like 12 extra humans on the board?
I have played against it many, many times in 60 card formats where it is oppressively strong, has been banned. A nerfed version of it exists on Arena. Like WOTC has recognized that the card is just too good. It probably isn't ban worthy in Commander. Like it's not necessarily that strong, especially when you have so much life and there are so many board wipes. But I can definitely see how this card is incredibly powerful. So John, do you have any experience with it?
yeah, same as you. I've played against it in Pioneer, and it's a house there. I know one of our friends has a Winota deck for CEDH, and hitting Magus, hitting Magistrate and stuff like, and it's like super hard to play against in that you have to like respond to stuff as the triggers go on the stack, because once you see the Grand Arbiter come into play, the Magus come into play, it's too late.
Yeah.
So if you want to kill things, I mean, if you want to kill things, you killed things before, because you don't wait, you don't let them get a thing. But it's rough.
It requires suboptimal removal patterns.
Yeah, it's like the when you play against Transmogrify deck or something, you're like, oh, you made a token. I spend a real removal spell on your token because it will just turn into something else and be too late, and eventually you run out of removal, and they don't run out of tokens. Yeah, it's just really easy to juice this one up, and I can see it deserving a slot here.
I agree with both of you guys, especially it's not ban worthy, but it's certainly, if you're playing Winona, unless it's like an absolute gimmick, you are not playing a casual deck. There's no casual Winona triggers going off. Absolutely. Speaking of cards that when you resolve them, you're no longer playing casually. Grand Arbiter, Augustine the Fourth. It's oppressive. No one likes this card besides people who play this card. I play this card. I enjoy it. No one else does. It's one of those nobody besides me gets to have any fun type of cards. There's never been like there's never been a time where decreasing your cost and increasing your opponent's cost isn't fantastic. And I've never seen somebody just have a nice casual game of Commander resolving this card, which is something I think they may have said in the article specifically about this card. There's no just casual, oh, I just play Grand Arbiter. And it's like, oh, cool. And it's like, God damn you, is basically how that goes. And this card, slam dunk, deserves to be on the list.
I think you wrapped it up really nicely with just mentioning you don't think that anyone has ever had fun against it. Like there aren't too many inclusions on this list that I support for balance of the environment. But Grand Arbiter Augustine definitely belongs. Just you don't want to play against it, especially in the early brackets. It shouldn't be disallowed. If you want to play in a bracket 3, 4, and 5,
Yep.
definitely. But I can see them wanting to keep it out of these lower powered tables. So
that's where it should exist. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, John.
I was just gonna say, this card reminds me kind of like how Braid's Cabal Minion works, where like if you go Soul Ring, turn 2 Grand Arbiter, like what are any of your opponents supposed to do? Like all your stuff's cheaper, all their stuff's more expensive. It's really easy to just speed this one out. And have you seen this more in decks like synergizing with it, or is it just like good stuff decks? Because I've only played it once or twice. I didn't have fun, and their deck was just like cards that you would play in Legacy and fast mana that you can't play in Legacy.
So I haven't really seen it too much in CEDH. I've seen it in Tier 4 a lot, and then a little bit from sociopaths who like to try to build Tier 3 decks. Tier 4, I think it's totally doable. It's fair in that bracket. Everyone is doing degenerate things. It exists to stop Storm. If you're gonna play it at all in a CEDH deck. I've seen like a Sisay build or two, the 5-color Sisay, obviously, where it's like, something that you could tutor to stop Storm, but at that point just, take the oh god, Thalia, what's her name? Right? Who's the commander that just makes spells cost 1 more? The
Thalia.
legendary creature?
Thalia or
Guardian of
Talia.
Thraben.
Yeah. You just tutor for her because she's a little less expensive, but it's more of a tier 4 thing in my opinion than a tier 5. But it is just oppressive, and if you play it against a new player, we're trying to build the game. Like, do you want to really make them experience that immediately? Like, good luck playing around that. But I've seen some decks that like run a lot of 1-cost artifacts and such that'll try to just crank it out that way. But if you wanted to be friendlier and do that, there's the Azorius. Is that the color combination? No, it's
Yeah.
yeah, whatever the blue-white is. There's that Urza that exists that can also reduce your costs without just making you the arch enemy by revealing your commander. But yeah, it's oppressive. It's just oppressive, and it's in like that weird Gitrog monster space where it's like too good for casual play, a little too slow for CEDH. But it belongs in tier 4 or as one of 3 game changers in tier 3. I actually like that system.
Yeah. It's like we did talk at some point that like some of these cards, like Winota and Kinnan, you kind of have to like build your deck around them a bit. Like you need other cards to hit off of both of those. Whereas like this card, you just any blue-white deck can just throw it in and have a haymaker.
I would say any green-blue deck can play.
Yeah, Kinnan.
Bonder Prodigy. Kinnan's first line
you
is
have
good
enough
for him to be
ramp for
included.
that to be good in any commander deck, but you if you want to hit, if you want to maximize it,
Yes.
Yuriko requires you to have other ninjas, though you really does well enough on its own some of the time. But
so I think that's a good transition into one of the cards we were talking about as we were starting as a potential inclusion, which would be Sliver Overlord. Slivers are strong. I've never seen a CEDH Sliver deck minus like maybe some Cascade nonsense off of the Cascade Sliver. But I think that you're right to discuss this at the very least, because it's a chainable tutor that just, you know, it's slivers. Like we know what it does, and you're gonna be a problem at the table. Like if I give you like a turn or two to just kind of dirtle, like suddenly they're all shroud, indestructible, flying, double striking, +3/+3. When they tap, you can mill one nonsense slivers. Like, yep, okay, that's one of those on-site cards for me that I just need to immediately kill. So I think that there's a good argument for it being a game changer more than the other ones, frankly.
Yeah, definitely as being a repeatable tutor. I mean, slivers in general, you get access to all the other lists, so you're under a bit of pressure for your total number of game changers, just because you have so much to choose from and only 3 options, which might have been a reason why they didn't include any of the 5-color cards. But yeah, Sliver Overlord's definitely a really strong one. I know that you have more experience with this than I do, John. What do you think?
so I've tried playing Sliver Overlord in many different playgroups over the years, and every time I'm considered archenemy the moment I sit down. And until recently, I hadn't added the MH1 slivers, First Sliver and Morophon, for that nice little combo. And, I would say I certainly deserved it for that. But before then, the whole point of the deck was supposed to be like a casual deck where it's like, oh, I'll get some muscle slivers and build up my guys. And everyone's like, I'm not believing that. You're slivers. I don't trust you. And like I didn't even have a soul ring in the deck. It was like a really low power level deck by my consideration. But every time you get Wrath, you just play Sliver Overlord and get 2 more slivers, and then you're back behind the 8 ball. So it's like it's so good.
It is very good. I mean, I've definitely encouraged people to believe that you are the arch enemy when we sat down and played. They were like, "Kill John." I'm like, "Yes, good, kill John, excellent." But I've never believed you when you've said that your deck was low power level, to be honest with you. You played Sliver Overlord. Like, I've never believed you for half a second with that. Now it's just I'm on the kill the Sliver Overlord as soon as it resolves. Try to stop it from resolving if possible.
I play Triomes in my 5-color deck. No, not even Triomes, Tri-lands, like Mystic Sanctuary in my 5-color deck. Like, you should know that it's not fully decked out.
That's fair. But I'm still going to kill your fucking Sliver Overlord every time I see it.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm retiring the deck because I'm not gonna deck it out, but I'm also just assumed to be that guy if I ever show up with it. So,
I think that's a good indicator that it is a game changer. It's
it
one of those ones you have to build around too.
Are exclusive.
So on the subject of 5-color chainable tutors, I firmly believe that at least 5-color Sisay should be a game changer. Like, yes, you have to build around it, but like, I'll be honest with you, if it's not a game changer, I could build a CEDH deck out of tier 3. Like, none of the other cards that besides Kenner, Bonder, Prodigy, and there may be like 1 or 2 others, but like, if I just like go light on the mana rocks, like I've done this before where I go light on the mana rocks, I include Collector Roof as a tutor target. I play basically just Sisay and the tutors as the game changers with Heuristic Study, and like it does really well for itself. Like, it does incredibly well for itself. So anytime that you see a Sisay, you should kill it on site. because I'm probably going to try to win the game that turn. And that is how that commander works. Like, there's so many different ways of building it. Like, your best case scenario is I'm about to cheat in from my library a brutal asymmetrical stacks piece that's just going to completely shut you down. Like, the deck either runs Turbo Sisse, where you're winning through a Planeswalker Circle Jerk with Oath of Teferi and the Nicol Bolas God Douche and the Sahili Rai and the Anamatau, and you just like you're getting all of those out the same turn because you're untapping your friggin' Bloom Tender, which is also not on the list, or you're untapping your Faber Elder, which is also not on the list, and you're just every time you tap this creature, you just get a free fucking legendary from your deck. Like, okay, and she should 100% be on the game changer list. There's no such thing as a casual 5-color Sisse deck. And I would also argue, while we're on the subject of chainable Sisse tutors, that the Selesnya Sisse also needs to be on the list. Like, you're at the very least, you're getting silver bullet pieces every single time you turn her to the side. You're getting exactly what you need, and you're chaining it. So if other best in class tutors deserve to be on there, both of these Sisses need to be on the list, in my humble opinion, especially since that was my first CEDH deck, was friggin' 5-color Sisse, and it just started winning as soon as I sat down at the table. Like, okay, cool. But yeah, that's my, at this point it's more than 2 cents. That's my 25 cents on this particular topic.
I mean, we know how strongly you feel about Sisse because you've mentioned that you played it in CEDH, and it is definitely very powerful as being a repeatable tutor, giving you access to all 5 colors. So I can see the argument for it being on there. You do have to, again, kind of contend with having all these different colors and only being allowed so many game changers. But like you said, it's not inconceivable to craft a pretty strong bracket 3 deck if you just leave out some of that acceleration. So, do you have any thoughts, John?
Yeah, it's like kind of just the same card as Sliver Overlord, but different prey that it hunts.
Yeah.
Different speeds at which it does it. It's just like tap 2 to your deck is really good. Pay mana 2 to your deck, pretty good. Not much to say, really. It's just obviously really good and
Right.
leads the game sort of in the same direction every time.
There's one other that. So there's 2 others that I really consider for this, and this one is going to be kind of a sleeper pick in my opinion. But Lavinia of the 10th, it's not land denial, but she's the one where she comes into play. You detain non-land permanents your opponents control CMC 4 or less, and with any type of flicker engine, anything at all, it just shuts the game down. No one can play but me. Good luck and Godspeed. It stops even mana abilities. So I think that there's a real strong argument for that type of, frankly, stacks piece to be on there, especially with the prevalence of flicker with her colors. Like, both Emil and Emil, if you play green as well, Emil and Flicker Wisp and Mist Meadow, or whatever the uncommon flicker, and Soul Herder, and just all of that is in her colors. So I think that she should be on there. And while we're at it, Brago probably is not fair, in my opinion, if you guys are familiar with Brago.
King
Yes.
Eternal.
Yeah.
It's so like the CEDH Brago deck is just degenerate stacks pieces that become immediately
pattern
asymmetrical. And you just, the value that you get out of that by untapping all your artifacts every turn. There's a 2-card infinite combo with Brago in Strionic Resonator. Technically, it's more than 2 cards because you need like 1 piece of mana rock in order to make it happen. But like, it is pretty ridiculous. Like you have Brago in the field. You resolve the Planeswalker that lets you tutor for artifacts. You tutor for the Strionic Resonator. You attack with Brago. You get another Brago trigger. You flicker everything, and you get another Brago trigger. Flicker everything, and just no. What are your thoughts on those particular cards?
So both of those, I think, are a product of their environment, in that Lavinia is incredibly good against decks that have tons and tons of non-land acceleration, and fast mana, and artifact mana. And Braga's really good, obviously, when you have all of those things. And knowing that a lot of these decks, first of all, in bracket 1 and 2, are going to be disallowed from playing a lot of those cards. And bracket 3 can only have so many. I think that it's kind of self-regulating in that Lavinia is annoying. It's a powerful card. It costs 5, and it's in multiple colors. Again, my opinion on Commander is that you should be able to have strong interactions sometimes, and it's not like a self-included loop like some of the other cards that we've kind of talked about. You mentioned that Flicker exists and is prevalent in those colors, but at least you have to kind of set up and cast your Lavinia and still have the mana. And unlike some of the other cards we've talked about that are oppressive in their own right, at least these ones need a specific kind of environment and support. But do you have any opinion, John? Oh, Chims, go ahead.
I may be biased from trauma. Yeah.
But again, that's likely in competitive formats where you're getting, 3 or 4 mana rocks detained, or, Brago is untapping 7 artifacts.
Getting around stasis. Yeah.
Right. So things that you're not even you don't even have to consider those for these lower brackets. But
I might be biased due to lack of trauma, because I never draw my Soul Ring, so Lavinia just never seems strong against me. Never lucky.
Funny.
But I don't know. It like Andy was saying, like, you need a bunch of things to go right to get like Brago to get going, and like there's still this like window in the upkeep before you flicker Lavinia again, where like everything's undetained and everyone's, who couldn't do anything with their mana now suddenly can go, okay, pounce. So even if you have an Emil or something, like, we can still maybe get Lavinia off the table. Though Emil's tough because you do it multiple times, but like then you need to set up with, a huge amount of mana. It's the type of thing that once you slip it through, like, the game's over, not much more you can do. But there's also ways to get around it where, like, you just play a 5 mana card.
That's fair.
Sometimes
That's
you just
fair.
get to 5 lands and someone can play a 5 mana card. Maybe, like you're saying, in the more cutthroat pods, people aren't playing 5 mana cards and enough lands to cast them, but
Lavinia's been the sleeper killer of certain. Like when I get to cast her, it's just hilarious how effective she is against CEDH pods where the average CMC is like 1.2, including all the lands. It's like it's okay. That's fair. I think you guys are raising valid points, but I don't think this is the hill that I'm going to die on today. Any other inclusions that you guys think we should have in the multicolor list? Like any other cards that should be on there?
So we had briefly mentioned this, and I thought about throwing it in there as Morophon just being kind of a strong 5-color commander, giving you access to everything else. But one of the points that I brought up earlier is that I think that most 5-color commanders are kind of reined in by the fact that they're restricted in just the total number of game changers that they can play. So I think that might be a bridge too far. And I don't feel too strongly about it, but is there anything you were thinking, John?
What's the Edric that draws Spymaster of Trest, I think his name is?
Yes.
I know that there used to be like competitive decks that were just mana dorks, that and time walk effects. You know, maybe it's reined in at not allowing multiple time walks, but like once we get to, you know, higher tiers, it kind of, I guess at tier 3 you still can't do multiple time walks, right? So I guess it's kind of fixed by that.
I think Edric is fixed because because of that, and the fact that higher tiers you're still giving your opponents cards, and so the chances of them being able to answer multiple time walks are just like way higher. Like I've played against an Edric competitive deck and it's fun. It's honestly one of the more fun competitive decks to both play and play against. But like the fact that all 3 of your opponents are gonna get extra cards off of that really dramatically decreases the odds that you're gonna get your time walk through. But that being said, like it's a good sleeper deck, but I don't think it should be a game changer personally. Um, just because it mitigates itself by giving your opponents resources too. It can definitely slip under the radar if someone hasn't experienced it before, and it encourages your opponents to attack each other instead of you. So it's a cool politics card. I run it in a couple of decks, but never has it been like oppressive by itself. It's always in conjuncture with all of these time walk effects that you're drawing into and the other cards that you're drawing into. So that's my opinion on Edric in particular.
That's fair. I didn't realize that it helped your opponents because the only couple games I've played against it, that the person who had it was the only one attacking, and they just went off really fast and got
Let
way
me
under
let me
everyone.
Google that real quick because I
No,
am now
I
I'm freaking out.
I do believe
Because it was
that's
one of
how
the
it works.
original. It was one of the original commander set commanders.
Yeah, I do fully believe that's how it works. It's like it triggered something in my brain that I read it once in a cube draft. It's like, oh, it does this.
Its controller may draw a card, which is the key phrase there. Okay, so let's go to the most expansive, but in multiple ways monochromatic category of this game changers list, the colorless.
All right, if you want to see our introduction to the game changers and the bracket system, click here. If you want to see us talk about other colors on the game changer list, click here.